Donald Trump Jr., thank you for inviting us to this, bringing out the first Trump mobile moment.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What was the inspiration behind this?
Because I think everything we've done as of late has been about creating utility for hardworking Americans, right? You've seen it. Everyone gets feed to death. Everyone gets sort of added on extras. And so what I think we wanted to do with technology in general is create real utility for Americans. They know what they're going to get, and plus, right? So we created a phone system that actually has American call centers to protect our data. We'll actually be manufacturing our own phones as well. You can use your existing phone if you love it and you want to keep it, but also being able to manufacture phones in America by Americans, create that job, maintain that data autonomy, but also add a lot of other sort of utility to people. As part of your $47.45 package, is $47 a month and 45 cents. Unlimited calls, texting, unlimited international texting to 100 different countries, but also a component of telehealth and telemedicine, where you can literally get on the phone and call a doctor as part of that same plan and part of that same package, where you can have the utility of roadside assistance. You break down somewhere, to have that all in one place, just creating a lot of value for people who've probably been underserved with your typical mobile carriers, who just don't really give you all that much, and just, again, sort of get you with the extras every month.
So will the service be using AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile?
It'll actually use, all of the hardware depending on where you are. Right? When you log onto the website, you put in your zip code, it picks the best carrier for you, so you're using that. A lot of that can be done eSIM if you have a new phone, so you can actually switch depending on where you're going or where you're going to be traveling to, so that you're always connected, so that you always have the best possible cellular service available.
So will you be, kind of like the Apple model, will you be adding laptop and maybe even Trump watch capabilities, smartwatch capabilities?
I think all that stuff will be integrated, because, you're going to be able to utilize a lot of the same technology that you'd have, on a Samsung phone or an Apple phone, integrating those same kind of apps. It's about, again, creating utility, not starting from scratch, but being able to do that, but with hardware that's manufactured in the United States. Again, keeping that autonomy, making sure there's no sort of, back doors into your data, putting Americans to work in American call centers, so that we're not, call centers could be great abroad, and while they're your allies, I'm sure your information may be okay, but then all of a sudden the political winds change a little bit, and then a lot of people are exposed. So it's really just part of keeping everything secure and in America while creating American jobs.
During Barack Obama's presidency, I recall I can't remember the incident. It may have been one of the domestic terror issues, but the administration had asked or demanded that Verizon turn over their metadata. Mm-hmm. Any risk of that here?
I imagine all of the people that we're working with, True America First page, you do have to follow the law, but we're not going to be opening up, the books to what was then, at least, an aggressive FBI that was actively trying to persecute Americans. I mean, this is very different. We have people that are true believers in what we're doing. You obviously have to follow the law, and I think the FBI is a little different. They're no longer targeting mothers. They go to PTA meetings as domestic terrorists because they don't want their children being indoctrinated with whatever woke nonsense the liberals are pushing. So hopefully we can, and my father's administration can reform all of those agencies that have frankly been, broken and corrupted. But, that process takes a little bit of time.
So believe it or not, it's one of the most important things on a phone, the camera. Tell us about the camera.
Same thing. Again, we're actually going to try to, use technology that's going to be, as good, if not better, than the stuff that you see in the most recent versions of the iPhone or Samsung phones. So, yes, I use my camera probably more than anything on my phone. At this point, when my phone rings, it's like, oh, I got to pick up the phone. I'm more of a, text guy. But, all of that stuff totally available to the people. And again, if you love your existing phone and you're wed to that and you want to keep that, you can do that. You can utilize the service, without having to adapt the hardware.
So I'm curious, in the smartphones, will you host, even, clearly you're marketing towards patriots, towards conservatives, towards center and center right. Will you host left-leaning apps on the phone?
Of course. I mean, listen, I think we are about free speech. Everything that I've done, whether it's with this or, anything I've done in my own personal life, it's about creating free speech. I was the second verified user on Rumble because YouTube was censoring the hell out of people. There's plenty of people that are left wing on that. The left is really concerned usually about having, others be able to speak their mind. We want everyone to speak their mind. You can hear everyone, and then you could make up your own mind, because I think we truly believe that when you're exposed to all of those ideas equally, you have a chance to hear all of them. Our ideas are going to come out on top. The left screams about free speech as long as they're getting everything that they want. They were totally fine with Twitter suppressing me, you, a lot of our friends and colleagues, because their ideas couldn't stand up. When Elon took over X and actually allowed there to be equal or parity for both sides to be heard, they lost their minds, because they've never actually had to articulate their thoughts. They've never actually had to argue them. They were just used to sort of their dogma being put out there and treated as though it's the gospel. And so we're always about free speech and making sure that all ideas are heard and people will make up their own minds. And I think we're confident enough in our ideas that when they're all heard, we win anyway.
You mentioned Elon. Is Starlink one of the players that you may be able to link your phone to?
Listen, ideally, yes. I don't know that we've gotten there, but as for me as an outdoorsman, I use Starlink all over the place. It's allowed me to be in some of the most remote parts of the world and still be able to communicate. I think it's one of the great technologies, that's out there. So that would certainly be something I'd love to do.
Great. So eventually, if not now, there eventually be the ability to turn it into a global phone.
I certainly hope so. Yes.
Wonderful. One of the other things we want to talk about, it hasn't certainly not lost on me, because I was here 10 years ago today.
Yeah.
The significance of the exact date 10 years ago, your father coming down with Melania, coming down the escalator.
It was a big deal. It's like 10 years, like almost to the minute, as we sit here right now. And, I think it was such an amazing thing. I think he fundamentally changed, the face of not just American politics, but probably politics in general. An outsider who had been sort of, frustrated with the system, with the uni party for decades. I mean, you go back and watch my father in the mid-'80s talking about his frustrations on trade. I mean, he's probably the most consistent person in the history of politics about these things. But, I remember it clearly. And, he's also probably the person who's, gone through the most, beaten the most level of expectations, the most resilient man in the history of politics.
He's been shot.
He's been shot, and almost attempted to be killed twice. And keeps coming back every time they counted him out. I remember when we went down the elevator, before the escalator ride, he looked at me and he just said, Don, now we found out who our real friends are, Don. And truer words have probably never been spoken. But what was more important about that was not that he just recognized how the world works. He's going to do and say the things that need to be done and said, and that resonated with America. It worked out very well. But he did that knowing full well that so many of the people that he had been friends with or he'd relied on or he had worked with for decades would just absolutely abandon him to take the easy route. And so I think we need more people like that who have that kind of conviction and that resolve to actually fight. And I think that's why I'm very excited that he's back in office now. And now, more importantly, he's back with a team of people who are all on point. It's not just, random Republicans from D.C. who, well, we'll wait this guy out and we'll get back to doing things the old way. I think, he's fundamentally transformed the Republican Party for the better. And I think Trump derangement syndrome has fundamentally transformed the Democrat Party to one that is just a rudderless vessel going nowhere.
You brought it up. We need more people like that. There's a guy named Donald Trump who... any interest in pursuing in father's footsteps?
It's not on my radar right now. I mean, people have asked me that all day today, I guess. So it's an honor to even be considered. I spent a lot of time and energy over the last decade really making sure we can find others, again, who don't just revert to those old ways, who don't just go back to sort of the neocon ways of the Republican establishment. And what's really unique about the last 4 years, as brutal as they were, and I still think we won 2020. I think everyone with a brain understands what happened. But I think the last 4 years did us such a favor. It made the American people understand just how fragile our democracy is, just how fragile our economy is, just how fragile all these systems are. But it also was, 4 years of living hell that enabled a lot of young people and a lot of people who were perhaps outside of politics to get in the game and actually fight, create a track record showing that they have that resolve. For me, another 4 years of Trump with, going back to the old ways means nothing. For us, it was about creating that runway of people who believe in what my father believes. He's this incredible messenger to be able to get that out there, hammer that home. But we need people who do able to carry on that legacy. So I love that this last 4 years, was the insanity that it was, because we have a great group of tried and true America First patriots now that can do that. So no, I have no intention of doing any of that now. I love that there's others. Who knows, somewhere way down the line if it's required again. But I think it's the first time in my lifetime where the Republicans now have a bench of people with followings on their own who could step in and do this, so that we have not just this 4 years of Trump, but the next 8 years and hopefully the next 16 years and 24 years to be able to really reshape the face of American politics in America.
In a crazy way, the 4 years, although very difficult for MAGA and conservatives, may have been the best thing that could have happened.
I think without question. I mean, this 4 years really allowed us to hone those skills. But more importantly, all the Democrats had to do was shut up. Not rig an election, not do their nonsense, and you would have another 4 years of Trump, in the midst of COVID, with a weak cabinet who'd sort of been there. Because honestly, in 2016, when we got in, we didn't know. I'm going to trust this guy in D.C. Well, guess what? That guy in D.C. is looking out for his own interests. Now you have those guys who are on point, who are on message, who believe in my father, who aren't just kicking the can down the road, waiting for him to leave office so they could revert back to whoever was, paying them in their special interests. It's truly a unique opportunity. And so I think he can be so much more effective this time around than he ever could have otherwise.
Great. We really appreciate the time. Wish you all the success in the world with Trump Mobile.
Really appreciate it, Eric. Good seeing you.
Don. Well, Eric Trump, thank you for inviting us. Really exciting, the Trump Mobile announcement. Tell us and we asked Don Jr., what was the genesis? How did this come together?
Yeah. Effectively, we got into technology because they treated us like hell, right? We started with Truth Social, where they deplatformed us. They took away our freedom of speech. They took away our First Amendment right. And what do we have to do? We have to go out and build a platform so we could actually communicate, to the people of the world, to the people of this country, all based on kind of political weaponization. And they did the same thing with the banks, right? I mean, Eric, I became the most debanked person probably in American history. Every major bank in this country came after us. They sent us letters. We're going to take Trump Tower. We're going to debank Trump Tower. You've got 7 days to move your accounts. All because they didn't like somebody who wore a red hat that said "Make America Great Again" on it. And so what did? We got into the crypto space, and we really invested in CeFi and DeFi and stablecoin, because we kind of wanted to bring financial freedom back to people. And same with the cell phones, right? The cell phone companies have done no one any real wonders. They're kind of antiquated. They haven't changed in years and years and years. They haven't provided the functionality. Oftentimes they're ripping people off. And so we decided to do it, a product that will ultimately be made in America, by Americans, serviced by Americans, customer service in America out of St. Louis, Missouri. You're not talking to somebody in India. You're not talking to somebody in Bangladesh. They're not stealing your personal information.
The call centers you're talking about.
The call centers, obviously. And, it's really great. A great, beautiful cell phone with more functionality, made in America. Eventually, we're going to roll that out in the coming months. And they all say that products can't be manufactured in America. They can. And we're going to prove them wrong. And all these companies are doing exactly that.
So will this company fall under the TMTG or Trump Organization?
Yeah, it's under Trump Organization. It's under Trump Organization.
That's interesting. Will any interest in bringing this company public at some point?
Well, listen, you never know. All right, never say never. A lot of our stuff is obviously private. We've always run that way. We've always enjoyed that. Obviously, buildings like this are all under Trump Org and under a private sphere. But never say never. And I think great days are ahead. So oftentimes we've lived in a society where they've written off the ability to do things here in America. It's going to cost too much. You can't do that. The only place you can manufacture is in China. And we better change that mindset. And you've got guys like Elon who have done that very well in other industries where we can do it better, cheaper, and we can lead the way in terms of innovation. We better be able to do that in America. Otherwise, we're going to lose our way. And I'm deeply committed to that on a lot of fronts. Certainly on the crypto front, with War Liberty Financial, clearly with Trump Mobile, and obviously with Truth Social.
Will there be any interactions? Tell us what the interaction between Trump Mobile and the other Trump properties, Trump Organization, hotels, whatnot, crypto, purchasing crypto.
Well, a lot of announcements come, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, that mobile device is how crypto is traded all over the world. You take the least developed countries in the world, and all of a sudden, with a couple pushes of a button, they can be on U.S. denominated currency, backed by U.S. treasuries, as opposed to whatever currency they're under that's probably being devalued at 5,000% a year because they're in, massive inflationary environments. And guess what? They can do that all off of a mobile device, and it's amazing that mobile technology is incredible. It's only going to speed up because of cryptocurrency. That's going to become your bank. That's going to become all payment processing. That's going to become your credit cards. That's going to become your entire life. But then you look at telehealth. That could be through your mobile phone seamlessly. But our healthcare system has been very slow to adapt. You look at basic features that you'd want in your life for protection, roadside assistant, other security measures that can all be on your phone. Yet these phones have done a very poor job kind of embracing so many of those functionalities. So I think there is a point where you can actually roll these up and have them all work together.
Telehealth, telemedicine, where does it link to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you're going to link to third-party providers, licensed providers who, and how many times do you get a sinus infection, you know exactly what you have, and you need a Z-Pack, and you literally don't have the time to go out to a doctor, and yet you could, use telemedicine. I think it's a very powerful tool, and that's all coming, and it's all coming through your phones, and we're going to be one of the first people to offer it.
It strikes me that the model could be similar to the Apple model, the iPhone models. In other words, will there be a laptop version? Will you have a Trump watch or Trump mobile watch that is smart enough to speak to the phone?
Yeah, I mean, first we want to have the best plan, and we want to have products that are built in America, again for Americans, that are serviced in America, and that's the ethos, and give you more bang for your buck. So the plans are $47 a month, and that's unlimited text, unlimited calling to over 100 countries around the world. So your connectivity with loved ones overseas, if you're in the military, that's especially important. It becomes more accessible than ever before, at more affordable prices, and so there's so much more that the industry can do. And so when you kind of bring these kind of software products, and really cloud-based products, and then these new financial concepts, i.e., kind of the cryptos, and all of a sudden you go off on kind of mobile phone ventures, there's a great ability for all of these to have connectivity and create something really special. So
is Trump.org going to move into more diversified businesses outside the hotel and those types of businesses? And may I also follow up with, a lot of people would love to know, the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C., any interest in acquiring that back?
Yeah. Real estate will always be our core. We love real estate, right? You're sitting in Trump Tower. That's kind of, one of the buildings where it all began. And, it's a big part of what we do. We've got over 25 projects around the world. Some of the biggest hotels going up, literally on almost every continent. We're so proud of them. We're so proud of the company, the hospitality side. But listen, technology is here to stay. Digital finance is here to stay. That is, it's here, and it's progressing incredibly quickly. And the people who don't embrace it, i.e. the big banks that don't embrace it, they're going to get run over. They're going to get run over by something that they don't even see coming, because it does everything better. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's more transparent. On every front, you're cutting out middlemen, you're getting rid of currency conversion rates, seamless transfer of funds 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, versus the traditional banking schedule that's 9 to 5. Technology is blossoming around the world. You see, obviously, the advents of AI, you see the advents of the data centers, kind of the universe that's opening up. You better embrace it. Otherwise, again, for the third time, you're going to get left behind. And so a big core focus of ours is technology, is platforms, is digital finance, is really communications, i.e. protecting First Amendment, through platforms like Truth Social. And we're all in. We're all in. Real estate will always be a big core of it, but we are all in on the technology side.
It strikes me that agree with all the assessment of how important the mobile phone is and will continue to grow and become. Securing the data, the metadata. There was a famous, Coinbase hack recently. There's another, DNA, one of the Ancestry DNA hack. How secure is the phone going to be?
So Coinbase is a great company, a great American company. But if you read into the hack, that was some call center overseas where somebody paid one of the call center workers to extract data. It's kind of why we want our call centers in the United States of America, right? It's incredibly important. And that's what people want. People want somebody who speaks the same language, that's familiar to them, where they actually believe, the name that's being given, at the front of the call. It's everybody's called into these call centers where like, I'm not speaking to John, and I'm not speaking to John. And, it's nice to, again, provide service for Americans by Americans. And that's what people want. And so in the digital age with cybersecurity, it's more important than ever. I think the vast majority of people in this country, certainly Republicans, but probably independents as well, a lot of Democrats probably don't trust their mobile devices. I think a lot of the big agencies and a lot of the weaponization toward them over the years is pretty conclusive at this point. I think everybody would understand. And so I think people want the safest environment possible. And that's also important for, not having your bank accounts hacked into, not having. So the more I think the industry can progress safety measures, and the more that you can focus on safety protocols, I think the better you're going to be and the better society is going to be. And clearly something we're going to focus on long term.
Will Starlink, obviously AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, will Starlink also be an option at some point to tie into?
Well, Starlink's doing a great job, and they're implementing that on a lot of the platforms. Obviously, T-Mobile, Starlink, connects with them, and obviously, I think you're still going to need the 5G because trying to communicate with a satellite that's 240 miles in the air, it's obviously a lot harder than a little cell tower that's 100 yards from you. I mean, the physics barrier that you have to overcome is astronomical. At the same time, I think Starlink's something that will always be able to provide, and what Elon's doing is beyond incredible. But I think that's always a great base to maybe provide somebody with 2 bars or 3 bars, provide somebody access if they've got clear line of sight to the sky, and they're in northern Canada, they're in Alaska, right? I mean, what he's doing is incredible, right? You're really just adding additional service on top of these carriers, but I think the carriers are going to remain big, remain strong, and 5G is obviously here and is here to stay, especially with streaming and all the newer platforms. 5G is absolutely here to stay.
Just a little fun questions. Is there any truth to the rumor that YMCA will be the default ringtone?
Honestly, you might have given me a great idea. So I think after today, and I think after this interview, Eric, it certainly will be. It's a hell of an idea. So thank you. We'll name that. We'll give a little asterisk behind that. We'll say thanks to Eric.
It's yours. I don't need the asterisk. Thank you. Eric Trump, thank you. And we wish you all the great success in the world with this.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.